Footy Club last night at Adelaide Oval.
No, it was a tough watch if you're a Carlton fan, but Port Adelaide can do this. Every now and then they get themselves up for a performance and they go whack, and they did that again last night. They got one of the most informed forwards in the competition, Mitch Georgiades, who continues to just become a headache for opposition coaching committees because you just never seem to have the right matchup on this guy. He's too nimble for the absolute keys and too strong and tall for the next level down. I love their work in the middle of the ground. Their ability to take the ball from stoppage out the front regularly. In the end, was the gap in the game. It was something like 8 goals to 1 from clearance there at one point. It finished 52 points to 19 from clearance, and it wasn't just take territory, get the ball forward. It was come out with speed, express, chest out, facing goal, and then it was just a ball use game after that. I thought they were dominant around the action.
So the story is about the Blues. It really is. After the week that they had, there needs to be a response. And I was absolutely shocked by the physical performance of it because I was looking at all the numbers coming to the game and go, well, good luck to Port Adelaide matching them physically, like from a contested point of view, from pressure, from tackle, all of those, ground ball, all those numbers were well and truly in Carlton's favour. Port Adelaide won the contest 3 times for the year, and they're coming up against the best contest side in it. Where was that? So this is the concern really for Michael Voss is not only are the glaring issues in the game, which we've spoken about a lot, they've lost their edge, and that was the clearance, the contest, the amount of missed tackles that we saw last night, the amount of Carlton players coughing up easy handballs with a slight bit of physical pressure that goes down and hurts you. There's always going to be the missed kicks because they're a poor ball use side, but going to ground, falling over, missed tackles, coughed up handballs, and a lack of anything physically after the week they'd had and no response, that's the biggest concern. That was a coach-killing performance. And I'd been really supportive of Michael Voss in terms of, okay, there's a lot going right for Carlton here. The last thing they need to do is sack another coach. Well, the last thing they needed was a performance like that after the week they've had. And if you're looking back going, gee, this may be the straw that breaks the camel's back, that one.
Well, it certainly heaps a lot of pressure on Michael and the board and Graham Wright, obviously. But this performance, I think even Vossi said last night they didn't have the effort. And that had been the one saving grace. Okay, you can talk about how clunky they've been and how they haven't been able to find that connection piece inside the forward 50 and the rest of their game was in reasonable order. But they just didn't look motivated for the fight last night. They just didn't look up for the challenge.
So give me the push and shove and all that rubbish at halftime. Like what a waste of time. That's embarrassing. You're going to do the push and shove and get up in the face of Zach Butters and try and get in Vicentini's face after the Sard incident. I thought, well, maybe this gets them going. Maybe this push and shove, they're going to cop a whole heap of fines for that. Maybe that was the statement that they needed. The third quarter starts. The ball's there. Same thing. Same missed tackle, same cough up, same letting Port Adelaide go bang, 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 start of the third quarter. I don't know. It looks like a broken group. Patrick Cripps looked broken.
He was injured. He was crook.
Yeah, and looks broken.
And Wiedering was clearly banged up from last week. So This is my point with Carlton. There's a lot of privates. There's a lot of guys that are entry-level soldiers that don't want to assume responsibility for the footy club when a couple of their top liners are off. So Walsh is not there. You've got Cripps who's banged up and Wiedering also banged up down back. So who stands up? Who's it going to be that actually says, you know what, I got this? And I look at players like Chera. I reckon I've talked about Chera 10 times this year. That first half, 1 kick. I look at Adam Sard, and I'm hot on Sard, but he's a senior core player, been around a long time. First half, 4 touches. I look at DeConing. They all tell me DeConing, mate, total superstar, worth $1.5 million a year. Okay, well, get hold of Sweet and Vicentini. Get Carlton off to a flyer. Just competitive, like just good average competitive game. So I'm the next level of player. They don't stand up when required, and they leave it to the top 4 or 5, which I understand. Every team needs their top 4 or 5 to play well, but I'm not even talking about dominating a game. I'm just talking about front line representing, because they just don't show up when required.
Yeah, there's so many issues with their list. I mean, one player has 20 touches last night. This is in a league where we're having teams getting 400. Despite one player gets 20. They could not get their hands on the footy. When they did, they burned the footy repeatedly. So there's so many issues with their list, and they clearly didn't realise how poor a state their list is in. They've got no athletes. They can't run through the midfield. Even Cripps is becoming an issue now with the way that you can spread off him from stoppage.
So is this Vossi's fault, do you think?
Well, the method has to go down to the coach.
But the list demographic.
The list is not. The list isn't his problem, and that's a list management discussion, which he would have a role in that. The problem for Michael Voss is that he's been a coach that has garnered effort and contest and traditionally really strong stoppage team, and that's been their weapon. They've jumped on landmines. They're seriously tough. Their pressure is great. It's Michael Voss's problem when that loses. When you lose that, that's his problem.
Yeah.
And the method going forward is his problem. The list, not really his fault. So regardless of who coaches the Blues next year, there's going to be serious problems with this list. It doesn't get John Lemire in. He's not going to be able to click his fingers and fix this list. He could improve it and improve their method and their effort, but I mean they need some mids that can run. They are in quicksand with cement boots on, this Carlton midfield.
They got embarrassed as soon as the game left contest in that first half. Oof. And they chipped the ball around uncontested mark. Carlton couldn't keep up. They really couldn't spread and go with them. And Port made the ground really big. They moved to the extremities, and they said to Carlton, "Come on, we're going to run. We're going to go here." And they really couldn't. They couldn't track with them. So at halftime they'd taken, almost 25 more marks. It was getting embarrassing. It was almost a big game of keepings off once they were too tough for them on the inside.
Yeah, so Blues fans, send us your thoughts. It's a dark time. There's no doubt about that. No one probably had seen this coming, and I certainly didn't see that coming last night going into the game. So that's concerning.
So cut to the chase. Let's cut to the chase. So what happens now with Michael Voss?
You either make a panic decision now and move on. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think they'll do that.
No, I think it's one that you assess with cool heads at the end of the year. But that performance there on the primetime stage, I'll keep saying that looked like a coach in all sorts of trouble. He's in the box. He's down on the bench. He's moving the magnets. Silvani goes forward. He's fiddling with the footy. Just, impossible because he knows the cameras are on him, but his body language and just the lack of any sort of fight from his players last night says that this is probably a situation where Carlton sack another coach. Like, what an embarrassing situation for this footy club. They're going to sack another one. What a mess.
I'm a Vossi fan.
So am I.
So I'm sort of, and people say, why are you a Vossi fan?
Do you think he can survive this?
I think he can. I think there's enough credits, and he's running out of them. You can't take too many 50-point losses on the way home. But he has shown, the last couple of years, he's sort of been under pressure at different points the last couple of years and found a way out of it.
Yeah.
He hasn't been able to do that this year. I'm probably critical of the use of Charlie Curnow. Look, that first half, the ball wasn't going into the forward 50. Like, I think it went in 13 times.
And his effort was there, Curnow. I thought Haynes and Curnow, I thought the effort. Now he's finishing. He was rushed and he lost composure, and that was an issue. But I thought his effort was there.
Yeah. So do you need to do something different? Yeah. This is on the coach's box.
Get him up the ground.
But that's not just Michael. There's a handful of guys. I think there'll be a significant shift. I don't know whether they'll purge Vossi. I think that they understand what they're asking him to do with the list right now. And I don't think any of us had a handle on what was underneath the belly, in the belly of this list. They haven't played. The one thing I will say that I think you can be disappointed in is they haven't picked many kickers through the course of the season. There are some there. I like Boyd as a player. I think that he can at least kick the footy. And he was a mainstay last year, not this year. And you go, why is that? Is there a better option? And I think that you look at that. I keep coming back to Adam Saab, but the senior core players, they're there for a reason. They're there to deliver. Why is it that most halfbacks in the comp can get 30 plus when they're run and gun generators? it's almost a stamp that they're going to get 30.
Rosie last night, 30.
Yeah.
Bang. 8 score involvements. That's what he's doing since he's gone to halfback.
And I know he went off in concussed, but at halftime he's had like 5 touches. And I think, how does that wash? So they got enormous problems. They really have, and this is going to take a really strong senior core leadership group at Carlton to support Vossi through this.
How drastic do they need to be with their list? I mean, that's where I go to as well. The coach is clearly one issue, but the list is a bigger issue. What can they do? No pick. I think their first pick is in the 30s, late 30s, as it sits right now. Walsh is the one that I'd look at, as much as you would have loved to have had him out there last night, because he's one that can run, but he's got currency and he doesn't have a long-term deal, which makes it a little bit easier. I'm not sure what else they can do.
Well, DeConing and Mackay are where I'm looking.
Mackay?
Yeah. I think that they don't necessarily need the extra tool down there. And it sounds like it's going to be hard to keep Tom anyway with the offer that's in front of him. So at least you're going to get some quality coming back in. But, yeah, the list is sort of – it's almost for now, though, isn't it? Like Horny flicked me a text last night and said that it's the oldest list that oldest 22, 23 that they've had for 80 years.
Right, 80 years.
80 years. And I'm thinking, the Carlton teams of 95. I thought that the Premiership team of 95 I thought was the oldest team that I'd seen for Carlton. But, I mean, there's a real issue when you're old and losing. You've got to purge some players.
Huge issue. Miles Bergman was so good last night. I thought it was one of the more embarrassing things that I've ever heard an opposition player say after a game, that he was crook and essentially was going to have an easy night. So they gave him the job on Cripps. I thought from the first minute of the game, he came off Cripps, got in front of Curnow, did a big spoil, and then I thought he was terrific. I thought his work rate, his spread, his toughness, his ability to really torch Patrick Cripps, who was under the weather, was excellent. So toughest of the week for me, Miles Bergman with that great response.
I reckon most of the football world at some stage or another has been tough on Asava Radigalia. And that's the best game I've seen him play.
Did you not see him against Melbourne?
Yeah. I get all that. High quality opponent.
Yep.
Like against Melbourne, you have some luxuries.
Took the 8 intercepts that day.
He played on Charlie Curnow.
Yes.
And still come off and had 11 intercept possessions, 4 intercept marks, and just looked bulletproof. Looked rock solid, stood under high balls. I loved his game last night, and I think that gives a lot of confidence for Kari going forward. With Alir and Asava down back, gee whiz, what pillars they may be able to provide.
Roll into work with faster, with tough-built stack tech rolling draw options, rugged, stacked and mobile. Did you think it looked as though Josh Carr was pulling the strings last night?
I saw that.
I thought.
Did you notice he was in the back seat? He was almost in a Jason recliner there for a while.
Ken was just sitting back in the back seat, in the recliner, chewing on the jubes.
Yeah.
He's had
some jubes going.
A lot of lollies going on, and Josh Carr was front and centre with his assistants next to him. I thought, gee, this is the way that it's going to look.
So do you think that Miles Bergman,
yeah.
We haven't talked enough about this. So about 8 weeks ago I said, can Tristan Sherry be in the top 5 in the comp? And you said no. And I think he's tracking to that way.
Top 5 player in the comp?
Is Bergman the same? Is he on that trajectory?
Is he top 5? I don't know.
Could he get there?
He's Port Adelaide's version of Jordan Dawson. That's how I see him. The versatility that clearly kick with a different foot, and Dawson's a better kick. But what he gives Port Adelaide is what Dawson gives the Crows. But whether he's going to stay or not.
Could he be an elite, pointy-end elite player?
Top 20.
Top 20.
Top 20. He can be an All-Australian. I think that's the level. Can he be top 5? Probably not.
So he can be in the top 15 mids in the comp then?
Yeah. Yeah, he can.
Australian.
Yeah, he can be a All-Australian worthy player, best and fairest winner, which he hasn't been yet. But having a fine season,
have to keep him. Work cut out.
Well, they've offered him 9 years. 9 years. 9 years for a player that's never won a best and fairest or been an All-Australian is extraordinary to me. But anyway, that's what you have to pay. Last week, Kingy had Dane Zorko.
He was good.
Good response.
Very good.
In the gun. And I had Brisbane's goal kicking. Good response. From my Lions in the gun is for Grays.com, Australia's leading online auction marketplace. Just a quick shout out to the idiots that have vandalised Carlton HQ. If you're just catching up on this, their headquarters in Melbourne's been vandalised following that loss last night. There's graffiti on it that reads, sack the board, sack Austin, sack Lloyd, keep Voss, TDK, yes or no. Disgraceful. Geez, it's a poor look.
How long do you reckon before they catch those? I mean, it would be 50 cameras on that joint.
Yeah, the problem is the cameras don't seem to be a deterrent anymore because they just cover their faces up and... You know, it's like the vandals that are breaking into people's homes.
I'll give it till midday.
And not worrying about the security vision at all. They just midday. Well, I hope so. I hope you're right. So they're in the gun. You got. I've got a.
You go.
All right. Well, I'll go for Grays.com. I just want to have a listen to this from Warren Treadray in 2023.
And I just look for where Ken Hinckley sits, where he's been there 10 years. He's contracted through to the end of the year. And for me, it just looks, albeit round 3, it just looks untenable.
So then they went on to win 13 in a row and had a pretty good year. I don't say this lightly because Warren is clearly a much-loved teammate of mine, premiership captain. And as I said last week when there was the latest controversy regarding him and his court appearance, he's been very good to me and the best player along with Gavin Wanganeen and Robbie Gray that I've played with. But right now, Warren's position on Port Adelaide's board is untenable. When the story becomes about you, not for the first time, and not about the betterment of the football club, when Ken Hinckley, when Josh Carr, when whoever speaks at Port Adelaide is now asked about the latest controversy with Warren Treadray, then that's when your position becomes untenable. So I think for Warren, if he wants to go down the free speech path and all of that, and what he's doing is taking a different direction, and that is fine. But that's only fine if it's not a distraction for the position that you hold, which is a powerful one at the Port Adelaide Football Club. So for Warren, I think right now he must realise that his position on the Port Adelaide board is untenable, and I think he's got to come to that realisation himself. Otherwise, the club will be doing a review that they're doing right now, and they'll come to that realisation themselves. So for me, for Grays.com, Australia's leading online auction marketplace, it's easy to buy and sell with Grays. Untenable is in the gun.
Can I borrow the Grace weaponry, please?
Thank you. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, you can't beat the story.
No,
you got to be the reason you build sustainable success. You just got to be all hands on deck behind the scenes. And when you've got someone that's causing concerns and distraction, you can't survive. Simple as that. Mine's an easy one, and I've got my favourites in the code. I've got my guys that I just I love to.
Isaac?
Well,
shout out to Isaac.
Well, he's my man.
I know.
I'm talking about Isaac.
Oh, really?
Isaac's,
no way.
Isaac's in the gun. I think Isaac's having a good, solid, average year, but he's not the Isaac of 2024 right now.
This is big.
Yeah, and I've been tracking him closely, and I know that he's been spending some more time forward. And the coach has tried to look at seeing whether he can become more of a goal-kicking option for them.
What are you asking for this morning?
I want a breakout game.
You want him to rip it to shreds.
I want him to stamp a game. He's had some solid games this year. He's hit the scoreboard. He's had a few 2-goal games. He hasn't had one of those games where you go, wow. How good is this guy?
He needs a Cozzy Pickett type game like we've seen a couple of times this year.
I want to see his speed. I want to see his skill. I've seen him miss way too many shots at goals. His kicking has been poor this year. So he's better than what he's shown us. This point of the year, you've got to get yourself going. So Isaac, my friend, unfortunately, you're in the gun, gone, sold with Grays Online.
Yeah. Do you think he can still be the best player in the competition?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we argued this. I gave you 20 names that could be better.
Yeah, you gave me guys that were good in the 50s, right? I was talking about last season, and he went on a tear for about 6 weeks, and you were packing yourself until he ripped his hamstring off the bone.
Calm.
You were not. But he hasn't been that player this year. So we want to get. If Adelaide to go anywhere, he has to be the man.
All right, that's a pretty strong addition of In the Gun. In fact, it doesn't get much stronger than that.
A little strange one here. Someone's just sent me a little text saying that maybe you should put on the agenda the kit that you were wearing in the pre-game last night. A dreadful ensemble that had a grey sweater that didn't make it to air.
Well, this is good information from you.
Is this factual?
And it can only come from a handful of people, and I'll get to the bottom of who that text message is
I don't think
from.
it'll take you long to get to the bottom
But
of
I
it.
had very pleased with the Channel 7 wardrobe, mind you.
Not too pleased.
They've
You
nailed
changed it.
But I did leave the house yesterday in an ensemble, and Lucy looked at me and she said, "Are you wearing that?" And she didn't say, but you get the feel, okay, this is no good. I thought I'm gonna push on. I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin, so I got to the ground and had the grey sweater on, then put the grey jacket over, and I walked out onto the ground and ran into a great friend of mine, Daniel Norton, who is in charge of Port Adelaide's media, and Ken Hinkley, and they both looked at me and laughed, and they said, "You're not wearing that."
Well, I can tell you it wasn't Ken who texted me anyway.
No, well, it wouldn't have been Ken. And then I had one other person from the opposition come out and look at me and say, "What are you wearing?" So then I started to get really self-conscious. So then the grey sweater came off and I just went with the blue shirt and the jacket. But get stuffed, all of you. I was freezing all night because I didn't have my jumper on.
Can I declare an embarrassing moment last night? While we're being
Self-reporting.
While we're being honest, and maybe I'm a bit overly tired, so I'll do this. So we get our makeup done at the pre-game.
And you need a lot.
I need a lot. I need a lot of help. So last night we didn't really have a room allocated, so we sort of
because we had the main area.
Yeah, of course.
Which
of
is
course.
the right way
you guys
the
are better.
hierarchy.
You guys.
We had the big sort of area, the big studio.
We basically had to get ours
because you're not usually there.
We had to get ours done in the common area where everyone goes and gets their meals and all that sort of gear, right?
Yeah.
So as people are walking past, it's very embarrassing.
Yeah,
right?
not ideal.
And I was just sitting there, and I don't know the makeup ladies around the different states, so sort of being overly polite, and just talking with a couple of the guys. Next thing you know, she pulled out the little clippers, bzzz, and shaved off about 4 ear hairs.
In front of everyone.
In front of everyone.
In the common
And
area.
I'm like, what are you doing?
People grabbing their sausage
I
rolls and
thought,
pasties.
this is
dodging
embarrassing.
Your ear hair.
The wind picks up there and all sorts. I thought, my God, what's happening here? I thought, I was mid-conversation with Jamo.
Jackie Hever and the crew from Triple M just trying to get themselves a
Mate,
coffee.
I've never been so embarrassed in all my life. I'm thinking, what about a couple of roguies get hold of me? And she's
extraordinary.
I didn't think we were that close with the makeup lady I met for the first time. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the footy.
This is the agenda. Yeah.
Let's get back to the footy.
We might just hold the agenda because your text message from
Tell you what, the ears are looking mint.
the ears are looking good. Are you gonna, who sent you that message? It wasn't Ken.
Nah,
Could have
it wasn't
only
Ken.
been a couple of people.
Anyway, let's get to
All right,
let's get to some footy.
What about the Ds? So if we look at selection statement that has been made for Melbourne, this is a big one. So Jake Lever out of the side. Just been such a mainstay and important player for them for so long. So even that took me by surprise. Caleb Windsor is going to be a very good footballer. No concerns there, but he needs to find some form. And Van Rooyen is just having a disaster of a season. Those 3 are out. How have they made that call on those 3 and kept Harrison Petty in the side? Honestly, like if you're gonna have selection integrity, and I watch this guy closely, how can you drop Lever and Van Rooyen and keep Petty? Is that what is that? How have you made that decision? I can't get my head around it. I would say this to Simon Goodwin. I've said it to him privately before. What do you see in Harry Petty? Unless, and this is what they probably will do, put him back, which is the only place that he can play, and try and play that Jake Lever role. But he can't be there as a forward. He just can't be.
Well, looking forward to seeing what Matthew Jefferson can bring. So he was a high draft pick a few years ago, a top 20 draft pick. So let's see if he can do something at centre-half forward. It's a big statement, isn't it? And it's a big statement to make at this stage of the season. Is it too little too late? You don't really drop a name like that unless you're looking for a response.
Probably. And I guess the other thing that it takes me to as well, like he's contracted until the end of 2028. So it's just, once again, just a warning about, you sign Lever for 4 years and you think, okay, well, this is a rock solid investment in 2023. We'll lock him in until the end of 2028. But a couple of years into that deal, with still 3 after this to go, it's looking like a poor decision. So that's the thing with 9-year deals, with 7-year deals, with 8-year deals. As good as Cozzy Pickett seems right now, and he is, and everyone would love Cozzy, I think a top 10 player currently. But what does it look like in 3, 4, 5 years' time? Because Jake Lever was as rock solid as they come. You've locked him in till the end of 2028, and a couple of years in with 3 years to go, he's out of the team of a bottom 6 side.
Yeah. And I'm looking at this midfield, and I've touched on this on. You would have seen it.
What are you doing to it?
Preview. You would have seen it.
I only saw the horny bit, the reheating suit bit.
I only saw the horny
the bit that we did 3 months ago on Fireball.
You still got the suit on, horny.
What are you doing with the midfield?
I'm sick of seeing the same midfield, the same starting quartet in there. If Harvey Langford doesn't go in for 12 plus centre bounce attendances this week, then I'll wonder why they're bothering to drop some senior players. So
then what do you do with Viney and Oliver? Like, where do they play?
Well, it's a massive discussion for the end of the season. Yeah, Viney's a tagger only, and is he an A-grade tagger?
No.
Is going to be the question they're going to have to answer at the end of the year. There's some confusion with, they've re-signed him for 3 more seasons.
Just because there was a rumour that he might go to North Melbourne and he was already contracted. Oh, no, here, Jack, here's a nice superannuation gift. We'll just extend your contract.
So I don't think you can get consumed with what the length of contracts are. They've got to make some tough decisions.
Why would they have extended that
deal?
I don't know.
I don't understand some of these moves.
The dumbest era of list management we have ever seen. Ever. There will never be a dumber era of list management in the game ever.
I'm trying to get a recruiter on here. Don't call them dumb.
No, recruiters are fine.
Are they all right?
It's the list managers that just think, Jack, you're a good bloke. You've been a great servant. You're contracted, but we'll just give you an extra 3 because North Melbourne might want to try and trade for you.
Yeah.
When you can say no to any trade anyway because he's contracted.
So I was thinking this is a danger game for the Suns. And then you see Lever out and you go, well, that
makes it hard.
Makes it a little bit easier for them.
All right, let's have a listen to Adam Treloar. I know he wanted to speak about this. Yeah. Speaking on his Sammy Watson will get me the name of the podcast after we hear from Adam.
The most emotional I've been post an injury. It is a significant injury. I am out for quite a bit, 6 to 8 weeks, and that's obviously all things going well. I've worked so very hard all year to get on top of my calves, and everyone knows that it's my calves. I mean, I walk down the street and that's what people yell out to me. How your calves? How are they feeling? I have lived and breathed football my whole life. Footy has always been my saving grace, mate. To still be as passionate as I am and to still love the game like I do and want to be out there and play with my teammates and have success with them, to not be able to do that because of reasons you don't know why, and I don't know why, because I do everything right. As you know me better than anybody, that I do everything possible for my body. That is where it really hurts me. It's just been a really challenging couple of days.
Hard to listen to, isn't it?
Ads and Dunks is the name of that podcast. It was hard to listen to. Great honesty.
Yeah, sometimes we can talk about these players without any emotional attachment, and then you hear them speak like that and you think, you know what, I feel a bit sorry for him. We can be a bit flippant.
Yeah.
He's injured again. He's never right, this guy. He's in for 3, he's out for 2. And then you hear him speak like that and you think, got to back off a little bit. What a challenge. How frustrating for him.
Yeah, it is terrific honesty and insight, and I guess that's modern media, and that gives you that insight that perhaps once we probably didn't have, and players more willing to open up on those types of platforms. So we wish him well. Clearly he's going to struggle to get back this season, certainly for the home and away season, as he said. Then it would be a gigantic risk to take.
He plays him when he's right.
He does. I thought he played him too early. There was the game against St Kilda where he came back and he just didn't look right from minute 1. So they're going to have to be a lot more careful than what they have been in the past with that man, Adam Treloar. All right, that was the agenda for Signet, powering AFL fans 24/7 with official AFL club branded power banks available at signet.com. What do you think of?
People are critical, are they? The music in behind. a couple of people asking if he was passing away. A bit strong.
What do you think of Adelaide? You love it?
No.
No.
No, I do. It's a beautiful place.
I don't like Adelaide.
At 5 in the morning, it's no good.
Come on, Jack Higgins.